All right, so Newcastle, they did it, huh? They ended the drought, and we're diving into it today. 70 years, it's got to feel huge for those fans to finally see their team lift a major trophy.
Absolutely. 70 years, it's almost hard to even comprehend, you know? What a moment for them. It's really a fascinating moment for English football. You have Newcastle, this team that's been starved for success, going up against Liverpool, a team that's used to winning, you know?
Yeah.
They're always in the mix for trophies.
Right, and it does feel like a potential power shift, you know?
Yeah.
Like we could be seeing the start of something really special with Newcastle.
Yeah, definitely.
So Wembley Stadium packed with Newcastle fans. Can you just take us there? Like paint a picture of that atmosphere.
Oh, man. Wembley was electric. It was clear right from the start that this match, this was everything to Newcastle. They were playing for themselves, sure, but for generations of fans, you know, all those who had waited and hoped for this kind of moment.
And then Dan Byrne, the local lad, scores that opening goal. It's like something out of a movie, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, talk about a storybook moment. A player born and raised in Newcastle scores the goal that ends their trophy drought. It's just pure elation for the fans. You could see it in everyone, even Alan Shearer up in the stands.
Oh, yeah, I bet he was going wild. The Newcastle legend himself. Talk about adding to the magic of it all.
For sure. And, you know, Byrne wasn't the only one who stood out. Alexander Isak, phenomenal game, right?
He was all over the pitch. He's having a really impressive season.
Incredible season. And his performance on the final, it was a testament to just how good he can be. He's got everything: pace, power, and boy, can he finish.
I mean, he seems like exactly the kind of player Newcastle needs if they're going to build on this and, you know, have a real shot at more trophies.
Yeah, for sure. He's a key piece for them.
Now, Bruno Guimaraes, he said winning this, the Carabao Cup, it was the greatest joy of his life.
Yeah, I saw that interview. It's pure emotion.
It really seemed like this win, I mean, it meant the world to these guys.
Yeah, it did. And you could see it in their performance, especially Guimaraes. But, you know, gotta mention Tonali and Joel Linton, too, that midfield trio. Wow.
They were dominant. I mean, do you think they could challenge Manchester City's midfield? That's the gold standard, right?
That's a really interesting question. On paper, City still has the edge, right? More experience, maybe even more raw talent in that midfield. But Newcastle's midfield, they've got incredible synergy. They play with so much tactical discipline. They control the tempo, they break up attacks, and they even contribute going forward.
It's an exciting prospect. Like, if they keep playing like this, keep developing, who knows what they could achieve.
Yeah, they could be a problem for any team in the league for sure.
Okay, so let's talk about Liverpool for a second. They just didn't look like themselves.
No, not at all.
Like, what happened? They only managed 3 shots on target the entire game, which for them, that's just unheard of.
Right. I mean, that's a team that's known for their attacking firepower. It was strange. They seemed out of sync. Their passing was off. And even Salah and Diaz, who are usually so dangerous, they were quiet.
Yeah, it was definitely not the Liverpool we're used to seeing. Do you think it was just an off day, or was there something more tactical going on?
I think it was a bit of both. You have to give credit to Newcastle's defense. They played incredibly well. They frustrated Liverpool, blocked passing lanes, closed down space, forced them into those rush passes. It was really a masterclass. But Liverpool, their tactical approach, it also seemed a little disjointed. Their movement was predictable, and they just couldn't create those clear-cut chances.
It's interesting, right? Because he brought on Nunez and Jota late in the game, hoping to change things up.
Yeah.
But it didn't really have the impact he was looking for.
It didn't, no. And, you know, Liverpool have struggled with injuries this season. That's got to have some impact on their consistency as well.
Right.
But, yeah, Newcastle's defense, they held firm. They had an answer for everything.
Okay, so it sounds like maybe a combination of factors led to Liverpool's downfall in this one. But it raises the question, what does this loss mean for them going forward?
Yeah, is this a wake-up call? Or is there something more to be concerned about?
Like, are they still a top contender, or are we seeing the start of a decline?
We'll dive into that more a little later. But for now, let's get back to Newcastle. Let's break down their performance a little deeper, look at their tactics, some key moments, and what this victory could really mean for their future. So, you know, we talk about the emotions, the big picture stuff, but let's actually look at the game itself for a minute.
Yeah, break it down.
There was this one sequence, I think it was around the 60th minute mark. Liverpool had this really promising attack building up on the right side.
Okay, yeah, I remember that.
Salah gets the ball out wide, and he's looking dangerous. But Newcastle, their defense, they're just so well positioned. Dan Burns, specifically, he did a fantastic job cutting off the passing lane to Firmino, who was making a run into the box.
So Salah had nowhere to go with it.
Exactly. He was forced to play it backwards, and that just killed the momentum of the attack.
Yeah, that was a big moment. It felt like Liverpool was starting to gain some control there.
Right, and Newcastle just shut it down. But it wasn't just Burn. It was the whole team defending as a unit. They were compact, disciplined, and it's clear they had a very specific plan for how they were going to deal with Liverpool's attack.
Eddie Howe had them well prepared, it seemed like.
Oh, absolutely. And their midfielders, they were tracking back, closing down space, forcing Liverpool into those rushed passes. It was honestly a clinic in defensive organization.
It really was. But the question is, can they replicate that against other top teams? Or was this a one-off? I mean, Liverpool were off their game, but still.
That's the million-dollar question, right? Consistency. That's what Newcastle needs to prove now. They've shown they can hang with the best, but can they do it week in and week out?
Right.
That's what will separate them from, being a good team to being a great team.
Exactly. And a great team also needs a potent attack, right?
For sure. You can't win trophies on defense alone.
And, going back to what Bruno Guimaraes said about this win being the greatest joy of his life, it's clear this means a lot to these players. Do you think this could spark something bigger, like a real hunger to win more silverware?
I think it absolutely could. This victory, it gives them a taste of success. It shows them what's possible when they play together, when they believe in themselves. And with a manager like Eddie Howe, who is known for getting the best out of his players, I think Newcastle could be a force to be reckoned with in the next few years.
They do seem to have all the pieces in place. And we talked about the midfield battle against Manchester City earlier, potentially. But how do their styles actually compare? Because I think it's an interesting matchup.
Yeah, they are very different. Manchester City, their midfield, it's all about technical brilliance, intricate passing, just this constant fluid movement. They want to dominate possession. They want to control the tempo of the game. Newcastle, on the other hand, they're more about power, athleticism. They're not afraid to be physical, to disrupt the other team's rhythm.
So two very contrasting styles, but both effective in their own way.
Exactly. And, it begs the question, could this be the start of a real rivalry?
Oh, I like that. Two different approaches to the game, battling it out for supremacy. That'd be fun to watch.
Definitely. And I think Newcastle's emergence, it gives the Premier League a fresh narrative, a new challenger to the established order. And if they can build on this, they absolutely could become a thorn in the side of teams like Manchester City.
Yeah, it's a really exciting prospect for the league. But let's zoom out for a second and think about the wider implications of Newcastle's win. What does this mean for the overall competitive balance of the Premier League? Could we see a shift in the power dynamics?
I think we could. Newcastle's win, it's a reminder that anything is possible in football. And it throws a wrench into those predictable narratives that we've kind of gotten used to, right? Like suddenly the race for the top spots becomes a lot more unpredictable, a lot more exciting.
Right. It's not just the same old teams at the top every year.
Yeah. And, Newcastle, they were in the relegation zone last year. It wasn't that long ago. Now they're winning trophies.
It is a breath of fresh air, I'll admit.
Yeah.
The Premier League has been dominated by a select few for so long now. But here you have this team with a rich history rising up to challenge the status quo.
It's great for the league, for the fans, for everyone. And, I think it's also a big inspiration for other clubs as well. I mean, if Newcastle can do it, why not them? It could trigger a wave of investment, new ambition across the league.
So you're saying we could see a more competitive, more dynamic Premier League in the coming seasons?
I think that's a very real possibility. Newcastle's win, it's a catalyst for change. It's a reminder that nothing is guaranteed. And for the fans, that's what we want, right?
Absolutely. We want excitement. We want drama. We want to see teams pushing each other to be better.
Exactly. And I think that's what we're going to get.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the positives for Newcastle, the excitement around their win, but let's not forget about Liverpool.
Right.
We talked about some of their tactical shortcomings, but what about the psychological impact of this defeat? How do you think this loss is going to affect them moving forward?
That's a great question, and it's an important one too. Liverpool, they're a team that's used to winning, right? To dominating their opponents.
Yeah, they're used to being at the top.
Exactly. This defeat, especially in a cup final, it's going to sting. There's no way around that. And it raises questions about their mental toughness. Can they bounce back from this setback? Can they find that winning formula again? Or will this loss shake their confidence?
I mean, they've faced challenges before. They've always come back stronger. But yeah, this time it feels different somehow.
It does, doesn't it? The Premier League, it's changing. You see this new hunger, this new intensity coming from teams like Newcastle and Liverpool. They can't just rely on past success anymore.
Right.
They need to adapt. They need to evolve if they want to stay at the top.
So is this loss just a blip on the radar, a temporary setback for a team that's still one of the best in the world? Or are we seeing the beginning of a decline? Are we seeing the end of Liverpool's dominance?
It's too early to say for sure, I think. But one thing is certain, Liverpool, they need to respond, and they need to respond decisively.
They need to show that they still have that fire, that drive to win.
Absolutely. And, that's what we're going to be watching for in these next few weeks and months. Can they rediscover that swagger, that ruthlessness? Can they reclaim their spot at the top?
Or will they falter and allow teams like Newcastle to take over?
It's going to be fascinating to watch it all unfold. I mean, as fans, that's what we want, right?
Yeah, the drama, the unpredictability.
Exactly. This is what makes the Premier League so great.
It's a constant battle for supremacy.
It really is. These are the moments you just live for as a football fan. The upsets, the drama, the emotion, it's captivating.
I know what you mean. And Newcastle's win, it really embodies all of that, doesn't it? It just shows you the power of belief. Anything's possible if you really set your mind to it.
Absolutely. And, for Newcastle, this might just be the beginning, right? They end this 70-year drought, win a trophy, and who knows, maybe this is the start of something really special for them.
Yeah, maybe. But as we've been saying, it's not enough to just, bask in the glory of this one win. They got to build on it.
Exactly. Turn this momentum into something more, something lasting.
So what do they need to do? What are the key steps to make sure this isn't just a flash in the pan,
Well, I think they need to be strategic, both on and off the pitch. On the pitch, they have to keep doing what they did in the final. That defensive solidity, it was impressive.
Yeah, it really was.
But they also need to find ways to be more consistent in attack.
Right.
They've got the talent up front, but they need to gel a bit more, be a bit more clinical.
Right, makes sense.
And off the pitch, it's all about smart recruitment. They need to add depth to the squad, bring in players who fit Eddie Howe's system, players who are hungry, who want to win.
Right. Attracting and keeping top talent is going to be huge for them.
Yeah, if they want to compete consistently at the top level, that's crucial.
Absolutely. But it's also about, I think, building that winning culture.
Oh, 100%.
A culture of hard work, discipline, that real ambition to win.
And I think that's where Eddie Howe comes in. He seems to have already instilled that belief in the squad, that unity. Now it's about nurturing that, building on it, creating a winning mentality that runs through the entire club.
It's definitely an exciting time to be a Newcastle fan. But let's step back for a minute, think big picture. You said this win could inspire other clubs, how do you see it potentially shaking things up in the Premier League?
I think this win could be a real game changer. I mean, it sends a message to the rest of the league, right? That the established order, it's not invincible. Newcastle have shown that with the right mix of talent, tactics, and that belief, that anything is possible. And I think that could push other clubs.
Push them to do what?
To invest more, be more ambitious, set higher goals. To actually challenge the big boys, the teams that have been at the top for so long.
So we could be looking at a much more competitive, much more unpredictable Premier League in the next few years.
I think that's a real possibility. Newcastle's win, it injects this sense of excitement, like the script has been flipped. It just makes things more dynamic, more interesting. Any team on any given day could pull off an upset.
And that's what we love about football, right?
Yeah.
A sport where anything can happen.
Exactly. And that's why Newcastle's win is so great. It's a reminder that the underdogs can rise up, dreams can be realized.
And the battle for glory, it's never truly over.
Never over. And sometimes the most unexpected stories, those are the ones that are the most inspiring.
I think that's a great point to end on. Newcastle's journey, it's a testament to perseverance. It's the classic underdog story. And it just reminds us why we love this sport.
Couldn't said it better myself. It's the beautiful game at its best.
And as we look ahead to the rest of the Premier League season, one thing's for sure, Newcastle's win has made things a lot more interesting. It's going to be a wild ride. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone. We'll be back soon with another fascinating look at the world of football.